Hello everybody, Chris Brown here at ClosePoint USA, and today is Veterans Day. And we have a very special guest with us. He is Mr. John Hess, the new agency rep for CATIC Title Insurance. Hi John, how are you?
Good, how are you, Chris?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. And you know, it's funny, it's always good for me to have somebody with 20 years of experience jump on this and start talking about all the different things that we experience in a real estate transaction. And the idea of these podcasts is not only to introduce you or the person that I'm interviewing, but to give tidbits of information to people that are watching, that are buying real estate, investing in real estate, realtors, attorneys, lenders, you know, all the different nuances that are taking place in our industry. And, you know, I wanted to introduce you. We spoke before about the different aspects of title, and I was really interested in your background, not just because you've been around for so long and you've seen so many different situations, but because I felt that you had something that is of resource to people, that you certainly can enlighten them, if you will, about what's going down in our industry and what changes are going on. But before we get into all that, tell me about you.
Yeah, so I grew up in Pennsauken,
Okay.
just around the corner from here. Lived there for a good 20 years. Went to high school in Pennsauken at Bishop Eustace.
Nice.
Had my 4-year tenure there, obviously. Lettered in...
I hope you had 4 years.
Absolutely.
Go
Was a letterman in bowling.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's your average score now? What do you shoot?
I would say anywhere in between 200 and 230.
Damn.
Depending on the lanes.
So you went to Bishop Eustace, and where did you go on from there?
From there, I went to Rutgers Camden for a few years.
Okay.
Had a hard time with that.
Okay.
And decided that work was going to be the next best thing for me for a little while.
And where did you jump in?
We had some friends that were breadmen. So I got into bread sales.
Really?
Yeah.
That's an interesting start.
Yeah.
Early mornings?
Early mornings, you got it. So 2 o'clock in the morning, get up, hit the road, 45-minute drive to the bread warehouse.
That's interesting.
And back on the road early for receiving and for those deliveries.
So what led you back up north?
Family and friends.
Is that right?
Yeah, so South Jersey is where I spent most of my childhood.
Okay.
And just the friends that I developed around here where the relationships are needed for me.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And are you married now?
I certainly am.
Okay.
Yep, so I got married in my early 30s.
Okay.
So now that's for going on 16 years now.
Congrats.
Thank you. We have 2 beautiful children.
Nice.
12-year-old boy and a 10-year-old boy.
Bowlers?
Not bowlers yet.
Okay. Baseball, the standard stuff?
Yeah, standard stuff, baseball, soccer, hockey, theater, starting theater now. So
Wow. And a lot of running around.
absolutely.
Yeah, wouldn't have it any other way. Right. So now, you know, I think when we spoke before, you got into the business around 2007, was it?
That's right.
Okay, and tell me how you started out. What position did you jump into? And now you're running, you know, the agency rep for an underwriter over that course of what, almost 20 years?
Sure. Yeah, 2007, I got hired doing policies and helping clean up around the office.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you start at the bottom,
Start at the bottom.
just learning about policies.
Yeah. Straighten up the office, making sure the files are in the right spot. Policies.
How big was the office that you were working for?
The office that I was working on, we had 2 conference rooms, and I would say there was probably 6 to 7 employees at the first one.
Okay.
Then the next one, I was working there part time, and then moved on to the next job where there was a 3-person operation.
Okay. So you dropped down 50% in size.
Yeah.
But you take on more responsibility?
I got my Pennsylvania license.
Okay.
And took on way more responsibility.
All right. And in that time, you were doing what? Opening up files, processing files?
Mainly opening up, filling in the blanks wherever I needed to.
Gotcha.
Opening up orders, doing policies is where it started, then processing files, examining here and there, making sure I was always a bug in my buddy's ear who was an examiner at the time. Nonstop. Hey, what happens in this scenario? What happens in this scenario?
So an office that size, you have to be a utility guy. You have to plug in everywhere.
Absolutely.
And you touch everything. You know, it's not one of these big, you know, title agencies where they fit you into one little widget and that's it. you dominate that area, but you don't really get the experience of, closing to escrow accounting, to reporting of 1099s and all the other nuances that go into it. So did that job make you more well-rounded in the title industry?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, I feel like I needed to have that where I wasn't doing just one thing. I needed to be spread out and just know.
The complete
Just
process.
get my hand into everything. Yep, exactly.
And you were there for how long?
We were there. I was there we worked together from 2008 to 2013-ish. In the
Okay.
middle, we were acquired by another title company, and we got up. And that title company, once we were merged with them, then we were probably about a 10 to 15 person operation.
Oh, wow. So now you're growing.
Exactly.
And when did you become a manager of the company?
I became a manager 2015, 2016.
Okay. And you were overseeing how many people? What was it 15, 16 people?
At that point, I would say down to 10.
Okay.
The market kind of slowed down a little bit. We started seeing a different type of volume of files that we were working with, and we were doing the REO foreclosures at the time.
Is that the big portion of your business?
That was the big portion of it. At first, it was refinances were huge for the first 5, 6,
Sure.
7 years, and then then the REO foreclosures.
So with the REO foreclosures, who was your client? Who were you working with? Who was giving you the business?
We had a New Jersey and Pennsylvania attorney that we were getting our work from.
Okay.
And they were pre-foreclosure files. From there, the pre-foreclosure files, we would get the out sales from them.
So in the pre-foreclosure file, the attorney would contact you guys and say, hey, we have another possible foreclosure. I need you to do these types of searches.
Exactly.
And what searches did they include? The standard county, upper courts, and stuff like that. But there's another search.
Sure.
What is that?
So we would do the 60-year search. We would do the tax searches. Run all judgments, and then we would also do the chancery abstract.
The chancery abstract. A lot of people don't know what the chancery abstract is.
Sure.
It's interesting when I get a call from an investor, and they're like, "Hey, how fast can you turn around title? I'm going to a sheriff's sale, and I need to find out." Yeah, we can pull down a county search pretty quickly, but that's not the search that really dominates on whether it tells you or not whether you're going to buy this property. If it's okay to buy this property and put your deposit down, it's the chancery abstract. Tell everybody, what is a chancery abstract? What does that do? What does that abstract provide you?
So the chancery abstract, the easiest way for me to point it out or to say what it is it's going to show you the order of operations that the lender took in order to serve the complaint and serve the foreclosure.
And to include everybody into that.
Correct.
That's a huge part. I actually have a friend of mine that bought a tax sale. The lender did a foreclosure on it. They did not include him. And this is one of my war stories. They did not include him in the foreclosure action. Like, he held on to the sale, and he was able to undo the foreclosure and insert himself and acquire the property. Because he had a superior status on the tax sale lien, which blew my mind. And then I remember when he came to me and said, I needed to look at this. And I was like, I think you have a case here. And lo and behold, he hired a very good attorney, and they pulled it apart, and he was awarded the property in the foreclosure. Of course, he had to pay off the mortgage company that had the superior lien on it. But because they failed to incorporate him, they undid the foreclosure. And he acquired a 40-acre farm in Milltown, New Jersey. Do you know how much that is worth? I mean, it's like, today it's worth millions of dollars. I mean, it's an amazing, that's a huge mistake by the foreclosing attorney. So it's incredibly important that anybody who's buying real estate in a foreclosure aspect, if they don't get a chancery abstract, you're just walking into a real bad situation. It could be, potentially, because you're relying on the foreclosing attorney to do the right job.
Right.
And how many times have you picked up a chancery abstract and you're like, oh geez, this doesn't look right? I mean, what kind of war stories have you seen?
Not too many.
Really?
I mean, we would have to go back to the foreclosing attorney and say, hey, we're still looking for some things that we're not seeing in this chancery abstract. Do you have proof of these items? Do you have proof of?
So let's break down the different situations. So you have an upper court search, and that upper court search is a search of the record in the courthouse. and it's indexed by the name, and you find out what judgments are against the people who had a contact with the property, who had an interest in the property, owners, that is. When you did your chancery and your upper courts and your county, how often did you find judgments against predecessors in title?
The strangest ones that I saw is on these REO foreclosures was where the corporation would have judgments against themselves.
Okay.
And
Really?
yeah.
Interesting.
And I saw in one instance where it was an as-is sale that they told the buyer that you have to pay for this judgment. It was a corporate judgment. You have to pay for this judgment if you want to buy the property because it's an as-is sale. Really?
How did it go forward?
The guy, it was a $500 judgment, and the guy paid it.
And it just moved forward with it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm paying their judgments because the property's worth that much to me.
Yeah, he saw that much value in the property.
Really?
Yeah, and he just wanted to get it over with.
Wow. I mean, I guess when you're fighting to get a property to own in the state of New Jersey because it's so difficult, I guess, I would do the same thing just to move it along, just to get it taken care of, You don't have to go through a title agent to get a chancery abstract. I mean, they can go directly right to the searcher. I mean, they're out there. And
I think Chancery Track is another one that I've seen.
Chancery Track, it is.
Yeah.
But for those investors out there, yes, the county search is important, the upper court search, they're all equally important, but the big one is the chancery abstract. The moral of the story is the chancery abstract for you is to make sure that everybody who has an interest in the property was properly notified. And if they're not properly notified, that leads a lot of liability to people about reversing a foreclosure, just like my story about the property in Milltown. And if you don't go through that process properly and hire people that know what the hell they're doing, you're going to find yourself in a bad situation. And speed is not always the best thing to do. To look for somebody to turn. It's accuracy of the search. That's what's going to save you. Yes, speed is important, but you know what? Sometimes it's better to slow things down and get a complete understanding of what you're dealing with before you put that 20% down at the sheriff's sale or engage into a foreclosure transaction. Just understand a chancery abstract is not cheap. It's about $175 to get one done, or maybe even $250, depending on the size of the case. But chancery abstract is extremely important. And it's, the underwriters, I think when I deal with CATIC and they're looking at a foreclosure, the first thing they ask me for, send me the chancery abstract. Send me your commitment, send me your certain, but the chancery abstract is where you guys predominantly are looking to see if there is any potential liability, and whether they're going to insure it or not. So chancery abstracts are a big deal, and you need to know about them, you need to understand them, and you need to know how to access them and have somebody properly read them so you can protect against past liabilities that now attach to you. John, going into title and being around it for so long, and you talk about this all day, I'm sure, with Larry Bell and Jeff and the rest of the underwriting team. Where do you see this industry going in the next 5 or 10 years?
Wow, 5 or 10 years. I mean, I'd like to think that AI is going to be more involved on a regular basis.
In what capacity?
In what capacities? Search work.
Okay, go ahead.
Possibly examinations. I mean, these are just guesses, obviously.
No, but I think you're on the right path, though. I really do. I mean, the AI aspect, even in my little firm here, my little company, just to give you an idea, we're uploading surveys for ChatGPT and AI to review. And we compared what that was putting out versus a human. Let me tell you something. It's more detailed.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. The little pin that is set, you really don't know. But if you load up the survey with a legal description and the current surveyor's legal description, it finds discrepancies. And that's what creates claims because, as you said before, we were talking offline, you may be foreclosing on a 1.5 acre piece of property, but the seller may have acquired another piece or is selling another piece or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's not in that chain of search, and you're like, wait a minute, I have a contract that says lot 5 in block 53, but yet on my tax search, I'm seeing, or my tax maps, an attachment of another sublot that's being taxed on it as well.
Yeah.
So it is interesting that AI is, I definitely think, is going to your point about examining, but not just the examining, but the survey reviews, which before, survey review was what, 15, 20 minutes?
Sure, yeah.
Now it's 5 minutes, not even. And it spits out all the exceptions to the title policy based on its review. In your everyday work, how are you using AI right now? When do you turn to ChatGPT or AI or some, facet to help you be more effective as, an agency manager or agency rep for CATIC?
Basically, trying to be more efficient with my email usage, how long I'm on a computer. It makes more sense for me to be on the road than it does to be at my computer, so it helps eliminate time there.
In response to your clients, how many agents are you servicing now with CATIC?
I would say we're servicing 100, I would say, right around at the 100 mark.
All over the state of New Jersey?
All over New Jersey.
And do you have also Pennsylvania?
Personally, I don't, but CATIC does.
Okay, so you're predominantly New Jersey.
Correct.
Most of your agents in South or North Jersey?
I would say most of our agents are in North Jersey.
Okay. So do you see a difference, and you know where I'm going, right? Between a North Jersey and a South Jersey title agent?
Absolutely.
What do you see as, I guess, the cultural difference between the two? What do you notice?
Well, obviously there's Giants fans and Eagles fans.
Yeah, there you go. That's a big one. One's a winner, and one right now is in flounder mode.
Yeah, they're hurting right now.
They are hurting big time.
But besides that, the biggest, I see that the attorneys do a lot of the work up there for settlements.
And how involved are the attorneys up there in the title process? I mean, are they really reviewing what's being put out in front of them?
They should be.
They should be.
Yeah.
But do you see, like, in my experience and where I'm going, I have attorneys I've worked with for 20, 25 years. And those attorneys, in my view, always ask for the abstract. They want to read the chain of title. They want to see what the legal descriptions show. They want to see what type of deeds were utilized in the chain. They want a complete understanding of what their client's buying. In fact, I have one, Steve Fleischer, that I have to put it out there. Steve will ask, and I think it rightfully so, for the easements. And he wants them plotted to see if any structure that is existing on the property is interfering with those easements. And he will raise those questions and ask for affirmative insurance coverages to make sure that those violations of those easements being encumbered won't hinder his client's use and occupancy and enjoyment of the property, which I find amazing. But then you have other attorneys who are very focused on the contract aspect of the transaction. And not to say that Steve isn't, but the attorneys are so focused on the contract aspect. Are their clients' rights protected from the seller's aspect? Is the seller conveying any type of hindrance that these guys would have to experience later down the road? That seems to be my thing that I've noticed more in the North and South Jersey. South Jersey, you have good title agencies. Would you say that there's some really good ones and some really bad ones in South Jersey?
I don't see the negative so much. I'm
Okay.
looking for the positive from my perspective.
So what kind of qualifications would you want a new agent that you're bringing on? What does that character look like? What are those characteristics of that agency look like?
Qualities that we're looking for somebody that's looking out for their clients.
You're probably looking for, in my estimation, based on your audits, what's your turnaround time when it comes to recording?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you're looking for on-time recordings. You're looking for
3 reconciliations. Is there a trust account or escrow account?
yeah, you want the trial balances to be good every month.
Right.
immediately you want the trial balances to be at least positive, right?
Of course.
Right. So we do see some sort of situations where the trial balances are negative, and it's just you can't be giving out the money without making sure you have good funds first.
That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, are you finding agents that are under that kind of pressure to issue funds that they don't have yet in the account and hope to float, that they get the money in over that time?
We've seen it before. I've seen it before in my past.
Is that an agent that you would want to hire?
Absolutely not.
Or bring on to represent CATIC?
No.
No. And here at ClosePoint, you know this, we do daily reconciliations. And then we do a 3-way reconciliation every month. And then at the end of the year, we have an annual review where we hire, let's say, Deloitte and Touche, that goes through our books to make sure we're recording documents on time, that we're issuing policies, that we're clearing checks, and you've had experience with this, that have been sitting dormant for a long time. You know, that we're actively working our escrow account to where it stays compliant with the state of New Jersey, and that, you know, people that are entitled to that money are getting their money. And a lot of people forget, you know, if you just want to check what I'm saying, the state of New Jersey has a website that you can go look at and see how much money that you could be possibly owed.
Absolutely.
Because people didn't claim their money or cash their check, or you can't find them anymore. You know, talk to me about CATIC in the sense of, what is your value proposition when you go to speak with an agent? They're put together, they fit your mold, but what gets them to say, you know what, I want to work with CATIC? I know my reasons, and my reasons go back a very long time to be a CATIC agent. But basically, what are you putting out there to those agents as to work with us? This is why.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the simplest answer to that is that we're getting back faster than anybody else, and we're coming back with responses that make sense, that are practical, that it's not, you know, if you're in the business for 15, 20 years, you see some underwriters, you know, they just have you check off the boxes.
Right.
We're taking a look at every file. We're figuring out exactly what's needed, and we're trying to make you more efficient and more professional looking.
And I found that. I think my relationship with CATIC has been very positive. I also have a relationship with Stewart, and that is a very positive. I mean, that goes back many years. But because, I have to be honest, my initial signing with Stewart occurred with Larry Bell. And, you know, Larry going to CATIC, you know, and Jack Soodle at the time, you know, we then said, okay, this is the team we want to work with. And a lot of people don't realize a title agency, their value is dependent on how good their relationship is with their underwriter. And when there's a claim, from my perspective, and I'm working with CATIC on it, I'm getting the support that I need. It's not, let's try to figure out how you screwed up, agent. It's, let's figure out how we can protect the insured, the buyer, in the claim, and then let's come back and look at procedures, which I find refreshing, because I want to make sure the insured is taken care of. Right. And in whatever, you know, we did in our process, and it doesn't happen, I can, in 27 years and 52,000 closings, I've had 5 claims. 5 claims.
Oh, yeah.
And I attribute that to our examining team and our search team and the things that we do here to clear title. Our settlement managers, they're very conservative, you know, and the way they approach a file is to be proactive, number one. Number two, don't create challenges for people. The barrier of entry has to be eliminated. That's our job. The examiner's job is to put these requirements, but the settlement manager is to clear those requirements and make sure that the buyer is getting a clean bill of health when they go into a closing. At the end of the day, I think that CATIC has a really good product, and the product is their people. You know, people like you, people like Larry, Lydia, Jeff, and Marianne. It's just a very good, solid team to work with. And I'm not talking, it's not just some email or anything. It's literally talking to a friend, but in a professional manner, to get to a really good result for the insured. And I think that's really sets apart a title agency and how good they are, because of their underwriter relationship. And that's what I found with CATIC and with you guys. In the sense of, what's the growth for CATIC for you? I mean, you have 100 agents. How many title agents are in the state? How many title agencies in the state?
I would say probably over 400.
Yeah, over 400, easily.
Yeah.
What is your goal for your growth?
Goal for growth? I mean, we'd like to be, right now we're in the market, New Jersey market share, we're right around 5%. We'd like to see ourselves get up to 10, 12, 13% within the next 5 to 10 years.
And how do you attack that?
Keep on showing our face, keep on showing up to the doors. The philosophy that Larry, Jeff, and Marilyn are showing is, we're a beacon. We're the leader. I would say that we're leading the way in how the underwriting philosophy, how the underwriting services are being put out there.
I definitely agree.
I mean, I'd like to think.
I think where people, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I
Yeah.
think where more underwriters are getting towards the use of technology to communicate, as opposed to just picking up the phone and discussing the issue, where they want this report submitted.
Yeah.
You know,
we'll pick up the phone. We'll talk to you, and then we'll send you an email
to
right
follow it up.
afterwards. Yep. Short answer, long answer. If you have time to pick up a couple things about title insurance, and then drop it in your file.
Yeah.
CYA.
You know, it was cool because I did an $85 million transaction, and Larry worked with me on it, and you guys covered it no problem. There was like no hiccups, no issues. It got to closing, and you know, the attorneys representing the seller and the buyer, in this case it was the State of New Jersey School Development Authority, were ecstatic with the response times that you talked about with CATIC. Larry was in those calls, you know, to talk about, you know, the exam that we had, or, you know, the Thailands or flood or whatever, you know, he was looking at, he was doing it with me. And it was, you know, it was a winner. It was a huge win for us to close that transaction. And I don't think it would happen unless, you know, Larry Bell and CATIC was a part of it. And it was significant, and it really helped us grow as a company. It showed our credibility because we had the access to your team. And I think that's, you know, why I am a big fan of CATIC and what they do, and how I just hope you keep that trend. I think your growth is going to be substantial as long as you get your message out. That's the hard part that I find, even with my own company. How do you maintain the message, get it out, doing this type of stuff? But,
Yep.
you know, interestingly enough, I think that's a challenge for anybody doing business development. You know, how do you tell the CATIC story to the masses and actually not to the masses, but to the people you actually want to do business with? Because getting bad title agencies or a bad client for me can bring the company down. I don't care how much money the deal is. If I feel it's a bad client, I'm not doing a deal.
Right.
I'll give it the Heisman. I'm out. I don't want anything to do with it. You in the underwriting side, I know you don't deal with a lot of claims issues in terms of what your position is. That goes on to a claims counsel and stuff like that.
Sure, Larry, Jeff, and Marilyn.
Larry, Jeff, and Marilyn, take a look at it.
Yep.
Overwhelmingly, though, what type of claims are you seeing now in the system that you're like, you know, here it is again. What the heck's going on? Why is this type of claim coming up?
We've seen the Thailand's files. Yeah.
So one of the things I thought, I mean, you're right about the Thailand's claims is a big one. A lot of people don't even know what a Thailand's claim is. And that search reveals, for those out there that need to understand this, when you buy property, there may be a segment of that property, a percentage of that property, where there were tidal flowed waters that were maintained by the state of New Jersey in the history and the chain of that title. The Thailand's claim shows maybe at one time the water body may not be there now, but because the water was there in the chain, that underlying ground underneath that water body is owned by the state of New Jersey. They have a Thailand's claim interest in that property, and you may not be aware of it. And it's extremely expensive to get rid of these Thailand's claims.
It certainly can be.
Yeah, if you don't have a riparian grant or a lease for those lands that you purchased, and there's a 5% claim, and usually property that is around bodies of water, waterfront property, is what? Extremely expensive. I mean, it can go into the millions of dollars. So let's say it's a 5% interest by the state into the property that once tidal flowed waters used to go. 5% of $5 million bucks. It's a substantial claim. That's how they use the appraised value of the property to determine what the claim amount is to pay the state of New Jersey to clear their interest. Otherwise, they could foreclose on the property, and it becomes a real problem. So Thailand's claims have definitely been a huge expense. And I think that's because, I mean, we do every property with a Thailand's claim search. It costs 35 bucks to go find out how much, a possible claim is against the subject property, especially if you're buying waterfront property. There was a case one time down in South Jersey where the state of New Jersey had an interest in a condo that developed land now with condos on it, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is going back about 20 years ago. The state asserted their claim. And all the title underwriters that were involved in transferring property through the years had to jointly satisfy and settle the claim, which was millions and millions of dollars, which is insane. I mean, here's a huge developer, and they didn't do a Thailand's claim search. So if you're buying property down the shore or anywhere in the state of New Jersey, spend the 35 bucks and get your Thailand's claim search and make sure that there's no interest by the state. We can also talk about later on about how we can clear a Thailand's claim with different non-monetary action to pay the state of New Jersey. But right now, if you have a Thailand's claim, you're going to be paying a lot of money to get that claim taken care of. And I spoke to an attorney the other day, and she said, my biggest problem is I don't do waterfront property. She was in Mercer County. I said, why not? Because I dealt with a Thailand's claim one time, and it's still going on. It's on year 8 that they're still trying to resolve the problem.
Oh, gosh.
How insane is that? So it's not an easy fix to take care of a Thailand's claim. So that's something for everybody should look out for when you're buying property. So CATIC put out a seminar that you can sign up for if you're a licensed attorney or a title agent to talk about the ethical use of AI when servicing your client. And there's a whole, there's a whole facet of who you hire, but they can't be as only good as your AI. You have to be a professional. You have to understand who you hire has actual real world experience, that's been in the grind, doing the work day in and day out with huge success. Longevity in this business is a big factor when I determine who I'm going to work with, because we're insuring history. And the longer the title agent's been around, those documents and that understanding of that history for that particular file is with that title agency. And failure to just go with a title agent that just started or something like that, that's fine. I get the start, but our longevity has been our success. We've been around for so long that when we get called about a file from 2005, we have it. We're able to get the documents because we did something very early to secure those documents in that history. So if you have any issues, we have those documents to clear that issue. I think the requirement to be a title agent as a title producer and an owner of a title company, when you decide to become an owner, there should be 2 different levels of licensing. I think too many people that I've seen get into the business. They're in the business for, let's say, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, 3 years. And then because they have a steady client, let's say a mortgage company or a realtor or a team or whatever, they open up a title agent just for the revenue aspect. And they rely very heavily on an underwriter. That's why I said to resolve issues. Whereas we have internally years of experience dealing with those issues and clearing a file without just relying on the underwriter. You get what I'm saying? And it's not about, making a buck on the file, but about producing a good closing that was smooth and secure. And then if there does something happen, that's really the test of, how good a title agency is, how they respond to it. Does the agency just shove it off to the underwriter and say, you deal with it because you're the underwriter? Or do they get involved to resolve the issue? I have commercial insurance policies on a building. And I own a building up in North Jersey with a partner. And we both had different insurance brokers. I had Hardenberg, and he had somebody that was a sole practitioner. The roof is a flat roof, and we had incredible storm. And it caused the roof to drop and then flooded the building. I was there while it happened. I was working late. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, holy shit. So it damaged the property, of course. I called my agent, and they were on it. On it. They sent their own engineer, inspected it, not just from the underwriter, but, they wanted to get the idea of what the gravity of the situation was. So they knew how to present the claim to the underwriter, to the insured, insurance company. All right, that was my agent. My partner's agent just put it off didn't come out to the property, but just said, hey, fill out this form and submit it to the carrier. Now, say we own this property together, he owns half, I own half. His underwriter canceled the the claim. Would not insure it. Mine had to cover the whole thing. And I really believe that's because of the agent that we worked with that was fighting for the insured.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a good brokerage, insurance brokerage, or title agency versus somebody just there to collect a commission. It's a big difference. And I never wanted to be that type of agent that my partner experienced. I wanted to be this type of agency. Hardenberg has an incredible group, and the person I deal with there is incredibly a professional, understands underwriting, is a CPCU, which is high designation in commercial underwriting, insurance. So here's my partner dealing with a sole practitioner. Nothing wrong with being a sole practitioner, but didn't do a damn thing. But take a form and submit the claim. And here's my agent who sent out an engineer that met with me, that fought to show to the carrier that I should, and it was a $175,000 claim. Think about that. So that's really, the type of company I would want to deal with. I do deal with. I hope other people out there, when you're buying your home, realtors recommend title agencies. They should. They need that relationship. But it's incumbent upon the buyer to ask questions like, how long have you been in business? How many claims have you experienced? Just understanding who the ownership is and what's your process in closing a transaction. Am I being assigned somebody in-house to work my file that's going to pay attention to me? These are the big things. But then you have those quick buck. They subcontract everything out. They really don't have any control, but other than pushing paper and the laying blame. But we're accountable for our work. We have been for 27 years. When I first started in the bedroom of my house, and I was working, closing deals, literally started a spare bedroom in my house. I said to myself, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm going to put my head down, and I'm going to work through and just grind. The money will come because I'm good, not because I'm chasing it. It will come because I put out a good product, and lo and behold, and here we are 27 years later. You know, but we also hired the right people too. We also hire incredibly professional people, much like CATIC does, the Hardenberg story. Their professionals are incredible. People that speak your language and get into the grind, that are not above it all.
You know what? The day-to-day, I see a lack of title examiners out there. Agencies are constantly asking if there's any examiners that need to be hired. I wish that there was more education and more interest in this field.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Because there are new people are not coming into our field.
It doesn't seem like it, no.
Because I don't think they understand it. And it's a hell of a business.
Yep.
It's a really good business. I think you're so right. You know, where are all the professionals coming from? There's no classes in college or to direct people into this industry. And the younger people are not doing it. And there's still a good segment of our population that's highly capable, intelligent, but they just don't want to go to college. They want to get good skills, you know, and this is an industry for those people to come into, because you can go and get your title license. And again, how good the title agency is will train them to become very good. Not just put them in to make widgets, but to, like you did, to get the overall scope of what the industry is about, you know, in that three-person team.
Right.
You know, you got to touch all the facets of the industry that allowed you to become what you are now with CATIC, because you touched everything.
Exactly.
But you're right. So, John, I want to thank you for being with me today. I really appreciate it. You have fun?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
I look forward to doing more of these with you.
Absolutely.
So, thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Cool.